Hello everyone. This is going to be a quick review of some general principles guiding the writing of opinion essays. So we're going to be exploring the most important generic conventions of this type of essay. Ideally, you should have read the complete handbook, Writing an Opinion Essay, Genre-Based Classroom Materials, which we provided you with, made available through our virtual classroom. Because in the context of this presentation, I'm just going to focus on some major principles. Anyway, this complete PowerPoint presentation will also be available from the virtual classroom. So let me just stop to consider a few key ideas. For example, I would like you to understand very well the difference between a discussion essay and an opinion or argumentative essay. Because in a discussion essay, a discussion of a controversial topic, there's an objective presentation of both arguments for and against an issue, which is why this type of essay is often called the for and against essay. We're not dealing with for and against essays this year. And some writers, according to the handbook, consider that discussion essays tend to be more expository or discursive than argumentative, because you're not actually concerned with persuading your audience. Actually, you have, let me find the correct way of marking, emphasizing ideas. For example, it says here that in the discussion essay, the writer has the personal choice whether to state his or her position towards the end of the essay or not, because it's mostly exploratory, balanced, objective. While an argumentative or opinion essay is different in this respect. From the very beginning, actually from your thesis statement, you make a clear presentation of your position, and then the rest of the essay, by means of a cumulative effect, constructs a variety of arguments, supporting statements, with a view of defending that one position. The difference between an argumentative essay and an opinion essay is perhaps a little bit trickier, or the distinction is not so clear. Actually, for some authors, the terms are interchangeable, but for us, they're not. An opinion essay is perhaps less formal, less academic than an argumentative essay. In an opinion essay, the writer expresses an opinion which is supported by examples, personal anecdotes, even scientific evidence. But in an argumentative essay, the writer defends a claim. This gives you the idea that it's more formal, more academic, and the way in which you defend that claim is also different. There's a different quality of evidence presented, because you construct your arguments by means of logic, reason, through inductive and deductive arguments, and very often you need to use secondary sources. While you may actually be quoting from your sources, from materials read in an opinion essay, you are required to do so in an argumentative essay. So the main difference, according to this box we have at the bottom of the slide, lies in the quality of the evidence and the use of sources, right? The use of sources is not mandatory in the opinion essay. So we'll be focusing on opinion essays, but we also see them as introductions to future argumentative essays that you'll be writing in other subjects. I am skipping some slides here because, as I said before, I think I said before, that you'll be able to download this PowerPoint from the virtual classroom afterwards. So I'm just skipping a few slides to concentrate on the, some topics that I want to emphasize. One of these topics is the dialectical structure of the opinion essay. This means that the writer explores at least two sides of an issue to demonstrate why one perspective is more enlightened than the other. Now, don't be confused. This is not a for and against essay, right? In a for and against essay, you present a balanced discussion of the two positions. In this one, in the opinion essay, you present position from the very beginning, and you are concerned with defending that position. but not to the exclusion of any opposing viewpoints. That is to say, there must be a certain acknowledgement. Let's see if I can find the right slide I need. A certain acknowledgement of other points of view or anticipation of criticism or objections. This is fundamental because you don't want to give the impression that you're writing from a very narrow-minded perspective that sees things in terms of either black or white. On the contrary, acknowledging other, opposing viewpoints will give you another tool to confirm your argument, because after the recognition of what we call the counter-argument, the acknowledgement of other points of view is a counter-argument. After the counter-argument comes the refutation of the counter-argument. In other words, you bring in a counter-argument in order to prove that it is incoherent or insubstantial or insufficient or wrong or you may find any other defects with that, but the idea is that through the counter-argument you strengthen your own position or your own argument. Okay, let's see if we can see in a graphic way, we can talk about the various organizational patterns. As you can see, this PowerPoint contains a lot of information, so I am recording this video which should not exceed the 15 minutes, so I have no time to stop and comment on every slide, but do take a look at each slide afterwards when you have the complete presentation. Let's take a look then at the main organizational patterns that you have in your various templates in the handbook. In this slide, we present the most important elements. First of all, you need a strong opinion statement, which comes in your thesis statement. Then you need evidence to support your opinion. This evidence may take the form of anecdotes, examples, quotations, statistics, logic even. It's also important, as we just said, an essential component of an opinion essay is the counter-argument, or the acknowledgement of an opposing opinion. This is followed by a refutation or rebuttal of the counter-argument, and then we often mention the concession, which is not really mandatory and has to do with recognizing a weakness in your own argument or something good in the opposition. Now, we have two clustering patterns. They are called clustering because a cluster is a group of things. So this means that you put together all the counter-arguments in a single paragraph. In this case, in this organizational pattern, the counter-argument comes in here. If you don't write the optional background paragraph, this paragraph will be the first in the body, right? The first paragraph in the body contains the counter-argument and the refutation. In an alternative pattern, which is also called clustering, you have exactly the same structure, but instead of having the refutation, the counter-argument and refutation paragraph at the beginning of the body, you have it right here at the end of the body, right? It's going to be the last paragraph in the body. We're going to discuss in another video, probably, or through other activities, in what cases it's convenient to use one or the other pattern. And then you have the organizational pattern that is called alternating, because each and every paragraph alternates between counter-argument and refutation. Another name for this type of pattern is contra-pro. That is to say, each paragraph in the body, right, all of them are constructed in the same way. You begin with a counter-argument, and then the rest of the paragraph refutes it. Again, there must be a reason why you choose one or another pattern. We're going to be discussing this later on, possibly through a forum or through some other activities. Let me just concentrate on some frequently asked questions that come from students. It's very important because you may be wondering. For example, can I use the personal pronoun I? Well, it's not completely wrong, but if we're talking about transitioning from more informal essays to more academic essays, perhaps we should be thinking of alternative ways in which we can express our opinion without resorting to the pronoun I necessarily. If you use it sparingly, probably just in the thesis where you present your position strongly as saying something like, I take issue with the argument that, and you express your position there. But other than that, you're not going to be saying I think 100 times in your essay. Can I address the reader directly by means of the pronoun you? Well, again, this is not advisable. It creates an informal relationship that we are not looking for, so try to avoid it. Can I use contractions? Definitely not. No more don'ts or isn't. This is formal academic prose. Is it okay to open the essay with rhetorical questions? Sorry, I'm rushing, but I'm looking at the time and I don't want to run out of time. Yeah, well, actually, rhetorical questions are one good example of hooks, but then again, don't say things like, have you ever thought about... if you're going to use a rhetorical question, make it really original, thought-provoking. If not, it's preferable not to use a rhetorical question. Finally, are we allowed to use phrasal verbs? Well, again, some phrasal verbs tend to be a little bit informal, so if you have a formal alternative, use the more formal or academic alternative. But in some of the cases, there's no alternative and you can use them. And besides, phrasal verbs vary a great deal. Some of them are more formal, some of them are more informal. Multi-word verbs like put up with, get rid of, well, they tend to be, get rid of is not necessarily a phrasal verb, but, put up with, things like that, tend to be informal. So, in general, your style should be homogeneous. So the phrasal verbs you choose to use should be in keeping with the rest of the style. Well, finally, I want to say that this presentation contains a lot of information on signposting language. That is to say, language you need to move from your position to the opposition's point of view and the refutations. This is very important not to confuse the reader. So you have a lot of examples that refer to language that you can use for the various parts of the opinion essay. Make sure that you read all these slides with a lot of attention, because I'm sure you will gain a lot of useful information. And finally, at the end of the presentation, you have a complete argumentative essay analyzed in terms of its major components. So be sure to read it and analyze it completely. As I said before, this full 44 slide or something like that, 44 slide presentation, PowerPoint presentation, is fully available and downloadable from the virtual classroom. Thank you very much.